in low-income housing till junior high school. Sports got my education, and then sports continued after my education for a while. So I was fortunate to get out. But, I was stabbed twice before I was 13 years old, hospitalized one time. It was severe enough. So I've been there. When I get to talk to kids, I don't want to hear this gang bang stuff. I don't want to hear it because I've been there. I've seen it firsthand. And by the grace of God, I'm here. But first thing it says, what is the role of law enforcement? And in listening and finding out who you guys are today, the role of law enforcement is basically to serve and protect. And it's corny, but that is our job. It doesn't always happen, but that is our job. That's what we're supposed to do. My particular role in law enforcement is to supervise cases at the Child Advocacy Center. In my career, I've vacillated in and out of that unit. I want to commend Pam Thompson, because 27 years of CPS, I don't know how you do it. I really don't. We laugh. She's crazy. We laugh about it. Pam is not bipolar from it. She's quadpolar. That's a new diagnosis. The doctor's not here to help me out because I'm gonna catchphrase it. But no, think about it. And I don't like talking down. I'm gonna sit down so I can talk to you guys. What we're doing, our role is really cool with the CAC for police officers. We're multi-jurisdictional. We're working hand in hand with DSS, with you guys, with foster care. For the longest time, I don't know what it was, but cops viewed social services as the enemy. Here we are locking this dude up, doing this, taking this lady out, and they're bringing them right back. And they don't understand the role. And I think we have to educate police officers out there in that respect, because even at our unit, there's a lot of patrol guys that think the child can be removed and placed in foster care like that. They have no idea the work you guys got to do to remove a child and put them somewhere. It's not realistic to them. They think, you should be taking every kid and putting them in another house. And that's something you got to do when you're out there, is talk to them, educate them, because, and I strongly think in the police academy, there should be a block where social services gets to come in with all aspects of your guys' work and explain to these patrol cops what you do, because it is important, and they really don't understand it, including me. When I was on the road as a young guy, I didn't understand why you guys didn't just snatch kids out all the time. We already talked about juvenile arrest. You guys understand that. We make a referral to juvenile justice. The police do not decide if the child gets detained or not. Juvenile justice.
But if you ask for it, then we have to determine. So if you ask for
right.
it, you have to get called on.
Yeah, we're not going to go down that road right now. You and I will talk about that later. But because there's times I think they should be held and they're not, and then there's other times they get held. I know it's logistics. Yeah, give me the catchphrases to use.
I got a couple of them for you.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about that. Well, no, and a lot of it is, and we used to say, well, somebody's got to have an arm and a leg missing for them to detain, but that's not that way now. It's really has been revamped. It's better. I like the system the way it is now. I truly do. A question here says, transporting mentally ill to the emergency room. It is the responsibility of the police. Now, we can call an ambulance to do an EP. It's called an emergency evaluation. Yeah, we petition. The cops can do it. When it's a kid, sometimes the trauma of a cop doing it and cuffing them and putting them in a car, you're just making it worse. And I tell guys that, call for an ambulance, let them put them on a stretcher. Hopefully the family can transport them. But I'm going to tell you something. If you're dealing with a emotionally disturbed kid, because you guys are going to do some transportation, think about what you're doing. You're operating a 2,000-pound vehicle. If that kid decides I'm going to get out of the car, or you're not going to take me to the hospital, call the cops. Make them do their job, because it is dangerous transporting a kid. I've seen these kids. They're like, and some are like Arnold Schwarzenegger, man. They're throwing you around like a rag doll, and in your mind, the mentality is, this is a child. Don't hurt them. When they come up with this crazy strength. A lot of mentally ill people seem at times to be stronger than the normal person, because they're going to a place you and I don't go to, and their minds are a lot stronger there. So, violence prevention. I have to think that means in the home. Basically, like I said before, you guys are detectives. Be detectives. Look for stuff. Just to give quick examples on why we were talking. and I'm not pointing the finger at anyone. I'm a cop, and I sometimes people get offended. I'm not directing this at social services, but I was reading a federal case. I attended the FBI Academy, worked with the behavioral science unit back in a long time ago. Some of you guys weren't out of high school, but it's in the 90s, and it's when the FBI started doing, early 90s, started doing uh, child exploitation. I was one of 27 detectives selected to go there and present to their academy. And then in turn, we got trained by them. It's when the feds recognized that, heck, we got a bad child exploitation problem in this country. It was and we were having these serial killers killing kids. So anyway, we all relate to each other in this, and you have to go with your gut. When we're saying violence prevention in the home, let me put it this way: I'd like everybody in here to stand up and say who you are, where you're from, and if you thought you had a good life or not. Is everybody cool with that? But does it make you uncomfortable? If I actually stood up and asked you to do that, how uncomfortable would you be? Pretty uncomfortable, right? That's called building rapport. If you know me from the CAC, you never know what's going to come out of me day to day. I may ask you to do that just because I want to, and I watch to see if people do it. But really, how uncomfortable would it make you? So you're talking to this kid who has been through all kinds of stuff, doesn't trust the cops for sure, because most people don't anymore, and they're kind of leery of social services or any authority figure for that matter. So I don't know what your mandates are, how often you get to meet these kids, but building a rapport and letting them know that you really are looking out for the best interest, they'll learn to trust you. They know those kids can read right through the BS. So violence prevention is from them, the family taking care of them, and what's going on in their lives. I don't know how often you have to meet with them, but you have to be a detective because you're the ones that are making contact with these kids, and you're going to report back to us to say there's something weird going on in the house. Give you an example. Up in it's a northeast state, as I was saying about the FBI, and I'm not going to say what state. Foster parents were basically trafficking Haitian girls, and some of you may know about this, and they were being sexually abused and sexually exploited. These kids were being moved state to state with no way to track them because the foster parent becomes their legal guardian. So you have a 13-year-old girl who's being sexually abused in the house, and all of a sudden you get a bad feeling she's getting ready to mandate, she's going to tell a teacher, preacher, friend, neighbor. I don't know how they find each other. Pam tells me all the time because it really baffles me. I'm like, how do these people know who they are? And she always says, water seeks its own level, Marty, and it kind of makes sense to me. But this guy calls his buddy in Oregon and says, hey, I got a 13-year-old Haitian female who's very sexual. I have issues with her. Do you want her? That's if that guy's into that, this foster parent. That kid ends up in that house, sexually abused again, and now even further away from any of us being able to track her. Or they call another foster parent and who is totally unwitting to what's going on in the sexual aspect and say, this is a problem kid, I'm having trouble. She's making up lies, she's lying to my wife, she's lying to my neighbors, I got to get rid of her. And they move on. So I don't know how you track the foster kids. I don't know what the mandate is, but this is a very wealthy state in the Northeast where this is going on, and people are currently being indicted on it. So, and it came to light via a social services worker who finally said, "Hey, something's not right here." If you get that gut feeling that something's not right in that house, look for the telltale signs, the injuries. We all do. If it's 80 degrees out and the kid's wearing a hoodie and sweatpants, you might want to warn her. Unless that's something they wear all the time, but you might want to ask yourself, what are they covering up? And you do have to talk to everyone in the house. I can't sit here and preach on how to do your job. I can preach as a detective what to do because that's what I know. I know that I've got to look outside the box sometimes. Any questions so far? Okay. Domestic violence. The role in law enforcement, we're mandated to make an arrest. It is a slippery slope when it's a foster parent. If we show up at a scene, the uniformed guys show up, because a call comes in that they're fighting. There are laws that say you may, which means it's our discretion to make an arrest. And then there are laws that say you shall, which means we have no choice. Somebody's going out of there and going to be arrested. And domestic violence is one of those. It involves child on parent, paramours, you're living together as, a couple, and there's injuries and someone's an aggressor, and they don't have to be an aggressor. If you get there and both parties are calm, unfortunately, by the wording of the law, the party with injuries is staying. The party without injuries is going, because common sense dictates, no matter what they say, because we all know they're going to say nothing happened. I slipped, I fell, whatever. That the party with injuries is staying. The party without injuries is better be arrested, and police officers can be in big trouble if they don't follow that protocol. That's a major, major no-no. Basically, look for gang signs with these kids in the home, because they have no family. Gangs are very loving. They will take anybody in as long as they trust them, and it is a very real problem here in Montgomery County. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what politician stands up on a podium and says we don't have a gang problem in this county. They're mistaken. I'm not going to call them anything other than that. They are mistaken. I know a lot of gang kids, a lot of them. Look for that stuff. Every time you show up, they're wearing black, red, blue. Look for gang signs, because they will recruit these kids in. They spot, just like predators do. They spot these kids. They're going to pull them in. They're going to pull them in, and then you got problems. We got all kinds of new gangs coming in. Right, go ahead, man.
Yeah, he's pointing because
The red, yeah. Mm-hmm. I had my eye on him when I walked in, man. So I sat down. I got him I got him. I got him.
Did you name the major gangs that are operating on the Eastern Shore?
MS-13 is a Latino gang. MS-13's here. They're huge in human trafficking. And anybody who hasn't been to a human trafficking course, get there. It is now it is the hierarchy under the federal government. Last year in this country, we were told not to talk about it from the feds. 300,000 American children, human trafficked. The feds made them, when I say feds, the government, the politicians said, no, that will alarm. This is crazy. They now say it's 120,000. But 300,000 young people, mostly girls, and 70 to 85% of those girls who are human trafficked are victims of domestic violence and sex abuse from their home. That's how they end up in it. It's accepted. They're easier to get, and somehow I'm not going to say what I'd like to because I'm not from the police. These animals smell them. They find them at the bus stop. They prey on their weakness, and they turn them into prostitutes. Some of these girls are turning 40 tricks a day, if you will. It's called being in the game. They turn 40 tricks a day, and they give every dollar to their pet. So that's something you guys got to be looking for. And now that has overtaken gun trafficking. The cartels control cocaine, drugs. Number one is always going to be narcotics. $20 billion industry, and America's got the biggest appetite for dope of any country in the world. Number two was gun trafficking. That has moved to number three. Human trafficking of girls between the age of 12 and 16 has now moved to number two. And the reason I bring this up is because it is gang related. The gang involvement in that is huge. Why do you think it's so huge? It's a repeatable commodity. You sell an AK-47, you get 400 on the street for a chopper, 300 on the street, that gun's gone. You take a 12-year-old girl, you can use her up for the average of 7 years. These cartels use these girls, and at the end of 7 years, they're either work back into the system to control money, and they're still pimped, or they're dead.
What was the other big gang?
Well, you got MS-13 is big, the Latin Kings. You've got the Black Guerrilla family, big here in Maryland, really big here in Salisbury, really big here in Salisbury. They've made a huge move.
BGF.
The Black Guerrilla family, right? BGF. You have a multi-racial gang. Now it wasn't. It was primarily white. Dead Men Incorporated, DMI. You'll see a lot of guys with DMI tats on their necks. Their women will wear them. They have their name marked on them, like their property. You've got the Bloods and the Crips, but here on the shore, it's the TTP, Treetop Pyrus. They're Bloods. You know, you got TTP. You've got all kinds of Bloodettes, which are female Bloods, female gangs out of Camden are now big. Salisbury, I mean, we've got a huge economical problem here, and I grew up in the projects when there weren't so many gangs, and guns weren't the answer. Knives were, you know, and that's why, you know, I was stabbed twice before I was 14 years old. But in this mouth. So, but anyway, yeah. Then like I didn't call it out or anything, but it's different now. These kids have guns. They have guns. Gangs and guns are synonymous, and the younger gang members are going to be the most dangerous because they're making their bones or whatever you want to call it. You got to prove your allegiance, so go shoot the guy at the East Side Deli. That's a prime example. Didn't even get robbed. They walked in and shot the guy and left him laying there. They never even attempted to take money. That was nothing more than a gang initiation 2 years ago in this county. So it's here. You've got it's really the big name gangs, and if you break it down, it's the Bloods, the Crips, the BGF, Dead Men Incorporated, Latin Kings, and MS-13. To me personally, from what I've seen, MS-13 is the most dangerous. They are the most dangerous gang there is. They don't care. They're involved. Oh yeah, they'll do anything. A girl who they thought talked up in PG County was found on a river creek bank up there, tortured, shot in the head. She thought she was going to party with them. And these young guys just threw her away like trash. And unfortunately, they detect that person. They'll go after the big, strong guy that they think is going to be a soldier, but they really do prey on. They see that vulnerable person, and they become their family. We got your back, sister, brother. We got you. And then they're in there. So look for that gang stuff. And there's a unit now that you can contact with the Maryland State Police, the gang unit. They're really cool. The guys, they don't wear cop uniforms. They don't go up there acting like a patrol cop. They go up and sit them down and talk to them, show them some pictures, talk to them, and try to get them out. It's just, unfortunately, to me, and I tell gang guys this, you're not more than, you're in the game. You're basically a prostitute. You're being pimped because the guys at the top are making money, and you're doing nothing but taking all the risk. It's a pyramid scheme, and it's no different to me than prostitution. These gangs prostitute these kids out. Why? Because they're looking for that. They want to be confirmed. They want someone to love them. They want someone to have their back, and that's why they go that route. They're not bad kids. You know, there are a few, but in large, it's kids that need that attention, and they get drawn to it, that structure. Anybody have any questions on that?
Is your guest here?
Yeah, I think I've covered everything they had on here. Does anybody have any questions about law enforcement's role in this? Cool.
I just had a comment on what you just said. I've always thought if we did as good a job recruiting kids as the gangs do, we really wouldn't have any problem.
No, we wouldn't. I say that all the time.
Recruit them for good instead of getting them recruited in the gangs. I don't know how we do that.
And it is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. These guys don't realize they know how good they are at it. Who's even better than the gangs are these pimps, and that's what you call them. These human traffickers. I mean, they groom these girls in on the internet, young girls from homes who are straight A students. I can't tell you. Social media, again, talking about, you know, protecting these kids. Look at the social media they're involved in. Express to the foster parents to watch their social media, because that is how a big, probably 40%, I guess, get lured into the prostitution game through social media. And a lot of them are foster kids because they don't have that connection to stay. And then they see this guy who starts telling them how beautiful they are, how much he loves them. And then how they do it, I don't know. They convince them to go out and sell their bodies and take that abuse over and over and over again and give them all the money. There's even cases where girls have been recovered here on the shore, and their pimps were in New York. They come here with an older female. They set up shop. Every dollar they make gets sent back to New York to the pimp. So look for that stuff. Look for that stuff. If they start expressing, hey, she's talking to an older guy online, you might want to call the cops. Let the police just say, hey, there's no, we don't know, but can you look into this? Because there are units that can do that as well. But thank you guys for what you do. I know it's not an easy job. And if you ever need anything, you can contact me at the CAC. All right.
Now, I know we've been here a long time. I have one more guest. Let me check the time. Are you all okay with going ahead until lunch, and then we'll just all take a break and go to lunch? Is that okay? So, I'm going to have my guests come up. We did this morning. Do you want to come up as well? No? And, yeah, this is the house.